Feminism for Dummies, an open letter to sexism by a very, very talented actor. In fact, she's a powerhouse of talent. She's known for her unconventional roles and playing out-of-the-box characters. One of the very versatile actor who has continuously impressed all of us with her brilliant acting skills. Please put your hands together as I invite Swara Bhaskar. Let's hear a loud round of applause for Swara Bhaskar. Come on.
Susu break, anyone? No? Come on, so many women here. Nobody wants to go to the bathroom? Are you kidding me? तो चाय भी नहीं पीनी होगी फिर सुसु नहीं कर रहे आप तो फिर चाय का तो पूछना ही बेकार है. Hi everyone, I'm Swara and I don't deserve the very generous introduction that the team has given me very sweetly, and at the end of this performance you may know why. It's not a performance. I once wrote a letter and posted it. I was in Syria before the war started, of course, and I thought I was falling in love with this very sweet young man. This is being recorded, right? Okay, so the current relationship is already in trouble. Good. So I thought I was falling in love with this nice young man, and I thought, let me test my love. So I sent him a letter from Syria, and you know how you do something and then you're like, agar ye ho gaya to aisa hoga, or agar ye nahi hua to aisa hoga. So I told myself that if the letter reaches him in India from Syria, that means our love is true. And if it doesn't, well then, you know, and it didn't. So that's when I stopped posting letters. And now I just write open letters and I just read them out myself. So that way I know that the message is getting across. So this is a letter that I have written to sexism. I didn't post it. I didn't know the full address of sexism. I didn't know whether I should say to sexism care of God, or to sexism care of religion, or to sexism care of law. So, dear sexism, trust your well. I think you know me, though you may not remember me. You meet so many people like me on a secondly basis. Yes, secondly, because Google says that 4 children are born every second in this world. And I would wager that at least 2 of those would be girls, right? Except in Haryana, where it would be 2 boys, 2 buffaloes, and minus 2 girls. Anyway, I know you. And I know you well. I met you the day I was born. It was when my dadi had called, Bamma, as we say in Telugu. I don't know if there's anyone from Andhra here. Bamma, we called her in Telugu. And her first question on learning that she'd had a granddaughter was, is she fair or is she dark? Now, my naval officer father, who was already dealing with his own hitherto unknown emotions to himself, was a little irritated, and he was like, I don't know, she's pink. She looks like a rat to me. Sexism, you then followed me into my life as I grew into an infant and then a toddler, into my newly forming infant thoughts, into my very reflexes. Almost from the very moment I acquired the powers of cognition, actually. Quite a sneaky little shape you are, I must say. You'd make a commendable stalker. I think Bollywood could take some inspiration from you. Yes, you sneaked into my reflexes. As soon as I developed the powers of cognition, I began to realize in some subconscious part of my infant psyche that if I smile, people would fawn over me, that they would like me. I wonder how many little girls learn this infant lesson. Always smile and you will be liked. Now I know that you're going to say that it's not like it's a girl thing, it's a baby thing. Everyone likes a happy baby. Not really. It's the girl babies who have to smile to earn the title of Pari, Mithi, Mishti, Gudiya, or whatever part of India that you belong to. The boy babies are all bloody Raja Beta the day they are born, right? Yeah, he's smiling. He's like, yeah, here's a Raja Beta sitting right here. Now, while you establish the statistical veracity of that, I will return to the smile issue. So that smile soon translated into other lessons. Be nice and you will be liked. Be a sport and you will be liked. Take a joke and you will be liked. Be a bro and you will be liked. For some reason, my reflex began to understand that as don't complain and you will be liked. So much so that in the space of my work, you know, that contentious thing called the workplace, which is always so controversial, the professional context, where in my workplace, so much so that when in my workplace, men in positions to hire me or give me work, when they would make a pass at me, or a proposition, or just grab me and, you know, begin to try and neck me, instead of being offended, I would smile. I was nice. I never said no. I was apologetic even. I said, please, please, I can't. Not, I don't want to, but I can't. When a director, struggling himself, rejected me for the female lead part, saying, you look too intelligent to be the heroine, I smiled and I said, I can try and look dumb. When another director, also struggling, may I add, rejected me for yet another female protagonist role, saying I didn't look like the lead material, I smiled and started wearing. Now you know why the shoes. I mastered the art of appearing well-groomed on the treacherous war zone known as the award function red carpet. I mastered the art and exhausted my bank balance on hairstylists, makeup artists, clothing stylists, shoes. And it worked. I started looking like a lead heroine. Okay, so yes, there were a couple of my films that I featured in that were super hits and my role was appreciated, but fuck that. I was looking the part. Who cares whether or not I was playing the part, right? I had my epiphany. You, dear sexism, are my friend. Yes, you're my sathi, my humsafar, to use, you know, terms from Bollywood film songs, my humnawa. I don't actually know what that word means, but, you know, you get the gist. My very simple point is that you're not the antagonist. You're the friend. I mean, you are what you are, but, you know, we can learn so much from you. Like all us women, all these intelligent and beautiful, well-turned-out, award-winning women. You're like the ultimate management lesson. You're like Engels' false consciousness, Gramsci's hegemonic manufactured consent, and Prashant Kishore's election advertising success mantra all rolled into one. Yes, that's what you are. Now, let me explain your own working, dear sexism, to you by pointing out to you your various tricks. And I've thought hard about this. So trick one, which I've already talked about, is that you descend upon us in the very infancy of our consciousness, the smile technique, right? You give us values, collective cultural values and impulses that we as an entire culture inculcate. Different values for girls and different values for boys. Please bear with me. This is not going to be very sociological. It's quite simple, actually. To the girls, you teach us to be nice, be beautiful, be polite, be responsible, and that would be responsible towards the feelings of other people. Be obedient to elders and teachers. Yes, ma'am is nodding away. She knows. Be respectful, which is kind of like being obedient, actually. Be strong, which actually means be sacrificing. And be forbearing, which actually means suffer in silence. So these are the values we get. And the Raja Betas? What values do the Raja Betas get? Mamma! That is the value that the Raja Betas get. Mummy is the best cook, mummy is everything, mummy is the pedestal. But on that pedestal, mummy is actually stuck. And then you give us the double dose values ka Fevicol, you know. So the values are bejod in our psyche. And that double dose is forgetting ourselves and guilt. So forgetting our desires and feeling guilty when we remember to feel our own desires. I swear, I can illustrate. It's a little personal, but my parents are not here, so it's okay. I don't know how it was in the age when the famed Kama Sutra was written, but there is a strange collective unconscious that we as Indian women, and I'm talking about urban Indian, educated women, that we inherit when it comes to matters love, sex, and desire. Oh, but sorry, the Kama Sutra was written by a man, right? Vatsyayan or something, right? That explains it. Anyway, seriously, desire and acknowledgement is an act of guilt, a matter of some shame. I remember my first kiss ever. It was pretty mundane and kind of like banal, actually. It was an abandoned part of the playground in the junior school building after school hours. Actually, I was bunking a class, but anyway. And a half, and the gentleman in question was supposed to be the Casanova of the school. So by the 12th standard, he already had 6 girlfriends, and the one who was his girlfriend in class 6 was his true love. So, yeah, pretty cool. So there we were. I didn't really know what to do. And when the moment of reckoning came, our young Casanova missed my mouth and got a bunch of my hair. But you know, the first kiss is the first kiss, even if it succeeds in the second time. So it happened. And apart from the excitement and the, momentous nature of finally having lost the never been kissed tag forever and ever, as soon as it was done, I ran away. Because I was feeling really guilty. And no goodbye or thank you to the bewildered Casanova. And what was the first thing I did when I went home? No, what? No. Is that what y'all did? No. I opened my school bag, I took out my maths textbook, and I finished all my homework in one go. It was like prayashchit for having kissed. And it's not just matters love and sex. My mother's yoga group friend, Sarla auntie, is unable to keep her diet because her husband has sprouts. सही में इरा आप ही बताओ कैसे हो पाएगा यार वो न्यूट्रिशनिस्ट तो कुछ भी बोल देते हैं ना अब वो तो खाते हैं नहीं स्प्राउट्स अब मैं अपने लिए थोड़ी ना स्प्राउट्स बनाऊंगी खाली सरला आंटी इज अ होममेकर शी स्पेंड्स her whole life in the kitchen but she can't make a bowl of sprouts for herself because she can't think about cooking something only for herself. My friend whose name I can't take because I think that this is going to be on YouTube. I see a multicam setup, and she's like a YouTube junkie. She has a fancy schmancy, corporate job with like a five and a half figure salary. She's unable to spend on herself. And this is true. This is not just for the sake of this letter. She shops generously for her husband, his clothes, gadgets, etc. But all her childhood Marwadi lessons of frugality and savings come in when she has to buy something for herself. The only way that she can actually buy and spend money on herself, and she actually justifies it like this, is saying that my office requires me to look a certain way, and so I need to buy this handbag or this shoe or this piece of clothing. Now, I know, dear sexism, that you're going to say that this has nothing to do with sexism. It does, though, if these values are not found in the same widespread manner in men. And they're not. One India Today survey will prove the same. You discuss that part with India Today. Your trick 2 is vocabulary and stereotyping. You have made complaining uncool. That's it. It's very simple. And for the complainers, you have a two-pronged attack. Vocabulary. You've appropriated the vocabulary of the resistance to yourself, and you've come up with some really catchy counter terminology. Every time we complain, you come back at us with words, feminazi, and hashtags, not all men, hashtag not all men, hashtag men are the real victims, YouTube videos, sketches, songs, and they are genuinely funny, by the way. I don't know how many of you have seen them, but they are funny. Humor. You've aced at using humor as your offensive strategy, and yes, we laugh too, we have a humor. part 2B of your trick number 2, stereotyping. You know this one, bra-burning feminazis, Sinbad. How many Sinbads here? Single income, no boyfriend and desperate. Feminist who needs a fuck. And my favorite, flop publicity hungry actress. Maybe let's also throw in anti-national slut. You know, you're the Shakespearean inspiration behind the terms anti-national, prostitute, liptard, and etc. vocabulary of our troll Twitterati. But it really is trick 3 which is your winning stroke. And that trick 3 is, and Asmita knows what I'm talking about, I'm not a feminist wale feminists, i.e. औरत ही औरत की सबसे बड़ी दुश्मन है. This is the beauty pageant answer or the superstar actress answer that makes me want to bounce off the walls in defeat. I'm not going to take any names though. I do want a career. And this is the secret to your success. You have created a secret army of non-feminist feminists to counter us feminist feminists. You know, one Ivanka Trump for every 100 of those women's marchers, that kind of thing. Classic divide and rule, aapas mein bhida do type thing. I feel like the British imperialists learned from you when they were like, you know, partitioning India and Hindu versus Muslim. This not feminist wala feminism that has, you know, the women are equal but biologically different, so kind of also not equal kind of thing going on. It's very cool. And then these not feminist wale feminists come to us with hormone studies to prove that, you know, so many months of paid maternity leave is unnecessary, or, you know, with pap smears to tell us, you know, how female ambition causes cancer. Yeah. Yeah. Pseudoscience is trick number 3. And then, of course, I mean, and this is really where it becomes so unfair for us complaining feminist wale feminists, sexism, because you have on your side, you know, romantic desire and, you know, biological affection, family bonding. Ultimately, our feminism comes up against those we love the most. Our fathers, our brothers, our boyfriends, our husbands, our Raja Betas. They must be level 1 of our victory. It feels like our beloveds are our biggest enemies. So, this is, you have me and my bizarre shoes at our wits' end and at our efforts' exhaustion. I can't do this. So, dear sexism, can I, complaining feminist wale feminist, be on your team? Let me know. Sincerely, Swara, or just another woman. Dear woman, you know, woo man, woman, woe of man. I do have a poetic side to me as well. This is sexism speaking, by the way. I am polite, whatever you think of me. I reply to every communication that comes my way. You sound like a dissatisfied, bitter, lying about her age actress who wears ridiculous shoes. Your analysis is full of inaccurate, pseudo-psychological, left-liberal, sociology JNU, anti-national hysteria, or sour grapes, as they say. I also feel like you have a, you know, wannabe celebrity thing going on. Nothing else can explain, you know, how you're dressed and how you're sitting. I just want to say that I don't need you on my team. I have Trump, I have Bollywood, and I have Twitter. I'm covered. One piece of advice I'd like to give you, all apparently well-spoken, misguided, woe of men, allow me my poetry, like you. Get used to the reality of power equations, darling. And you're wrong, by the way, about your analysis and all the tricks and very sort of long-winded, boring explanation of how I operate. My real victory is actually quite simple. and the reason sexism, continue to rule is quite simply that I have framed the achievement of your vision, the vision of you feminists, as men versus women. Get that? Most men and some women will keep thinking that you getting your rights means them losing theirs. Yes. Fear. Fear, my dear. I am poetic. Fear, my dear, is my master stroke. So there. I will continue to rule as long as this whole debate seems like men versus women, and you getting your rights seems like men are going to lose theirs. So thanks for the offer. I don't want you. I don't need you. Yours. Pompous, yes, but I am in power. Sexism. Don't clap for that. Don't clap for that. This is the India Today Women's Conclave. I do have an answer. Dear sexism, fuck you. You really are a testicle. You forget that men, like women, have brains. And the brain, and I checked this on Google, is gender neutral. You, dear sexism, can continue to remain in the dick zone. We will operate in the mind zone. And may I remind you that even hard-ons have neurological aspects. So, dear sexism, all the best and much love. I don't want to be in your team anymore. Thank you. Oh, I have to be still sitting here?
So much. And one quick question, Swara. So your new film, Anarkali of Ara, is that Bollywood's note to sexism? Because the character is unabashedly unapologetic about her sexuality, much to the discomfort of the censor board.
Yes, but I don't think that the Anarkali of Ara is the only sort of answer to sexism or sexism in Bollywood. I think that it is a new and interesting answer. But I think there have been some pretty commendable films in Bollywood
yes.
in the past as well. And actually, I would say like in the Piche Wala past, like I think Guide was actually perhaps amongst the earliest sort of, expressions of anti-sexism, feminism, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, Anarkali of Ara is definitely a very brave and, I think, feminist film.
It is, and one of the very challenging films for you as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much. May I please call on stage Subhash Ballar, Category Head for ITC Limited, to kindly come and give a very small token of thanks and our appreciation for your time. Thank you. Let's hear it once again, ladies and gentlemen, for Swara.
Thank you.